Hello! As you can see, welcome to the wonderful country of Sweden. I am in Sweden and I try to introduce the fantastic sports of Jugger to this country. Some may also know me as the Uhu, who play Jugger and may have met me on some tournaments. Now, what I'm doing here is, founding and being captain of first Jugger team in Sweden, the Järnboas Järnfajkar in Järnboas Idrottsföreningen. Before I came here, I was the founder and captain of Uhus Jugger, which you might have met and hopefully you have lost against us. I played the shield and the short sword, you could say, this one here, and I did it all my Jugger time. I often heard questions of people who asked, how can we play shield? Are there any tips? Which are the basics of shield play? And so I thought, well, it would be quite a good idea to do a little introduction about shield play. You'll find many introductions of fencing from live role-playing people or from medieval fighters, you could say, fighting styles, fencing styles. These are often very good, so I recommend to watch them. But they are a bit different from the type you play in Jugger. The fencing in Jugger is different, the shield is different. We are playing with effective hits, you could say. You have to play as good as possible, not with show but with efficiency to hit the other players. And you can learn very much by sports fencing or medieval fencing, and taking all together you have the Jugger fighting style. Now what I want to show you are some basics of shield play, and they are far from perfect, of course, and they are my own style, and every shield player who has played a Jugger for a long time has his own way to play the shield, and there is no best way, they are just different ways. But I want to show you some basics there, and maybe you can profit from it for your own shield play, I hope so. And well, be welcome. I hope you enjoy watching this video and the coming parts of it, and ja, vi ses snart! That was quite a lot of snow, was it? So I decided, well, we should better change the place and go down into my workshop, where we are making our Pompfen for our Jugger club here in Järnboas in Sweden. And therefore that I had to learn Swedish first. When I now try to speak English, I'm now and then just casting in Swedish words for some reason, so it must be something with the foreign languages here. I'm sorry if that is a bit confusing now and then, but I hope we will get along well with it. What you can see here is the basic stuff you need for your Jugger Pompfen, and first for the stuff you need a knife, good deep sharp knife. You will need this one, matches. You will need tape, one tape for the outer side and one double-sided tape for the inside. Before we had often used Pateks in Berlin, and so we were called the Pateks boys because it just smells like hell. Quite an interesting smell, by the way. And then we have the other gear, which I will present you right now after finishing my pipe. So how do we make our own Pompfen? Well, that's a good question. It's a bit of an own science for itself, and it's a bit of trial and error. Over the years we have found material that's very good for the cores of the Pompfen, because the problem is if you hit with this long Q-tip, for example, the stress is very high for the material when you hit someone hard with it. So we need something that does not break, even under stress. Bamboo is frequently used, but not anymore, because it will break. It will break quite fast, and then you have to do your Pompfe again, so it's not really funny to do that. It's better to take fiberglass from the start. Fiberglass is a bit more expensive, but it's a thing for life, you could say. They almost don't break. That's just really good. This one is a fiberglass core rod, solid as you can see. The problem with these is that they are very heavy. So if you see here, Well, that sounds heavy, and it is. If you have such a Pompfe with such a rod, and you have a 2-meter Pompfe, for example, like a Q-tip or 1,80 m staff, then the problem is you are not very fast with it. You can parry excellently, you can hit quite hard, that's good, but problem is it's heavy, it's slow. And most Pompfen today are built so that they are as fast as possible, you could say. Therefore, for some years ago, we have found a material that is much better, that is very light, is also fiberglass, but it's not a stuff, as you can see, not solid. It is a tube, a fiberglass tube, you could say, and this tube is a special one. You cannot take just any fiberglass tube. You have to look for the material. In German it's called pulturiert. That's a special way to make it. You see these small pattern in here, and this is really stable, it's really good, and it's quite light. So this goes like that, and that goes like that. So you see the difference. This is light, this is heavy. Take this, even if it costs more. Normally it does cost just the same like this. So take this. But first have a look on the internet how the correct material is called in your country, that you do not get material that in fact does break. So a stable core is the most important thing. Next thing, padding. Your Pompfe has to be padded, of course, because otherwise it would hurt a bit much if you get hit by such a core. Therefore, we have, for example, this as the main padding. This small padding here, which you usually use to isolate warm water pipes, this one must be also of good quality. Don't take the cheapest. Don't take something that's too soft. It has to be a bit hard, at least. And the most important thing is when you open it, you can open it here along this point, and when you open it here and you draw, it should not break again, it should hold. So the quality is very important. This small one is important for the whole Pompfe. Usually it's taken for the whole length, as here where you usually have are holding the Pompfe, even there we have this. And on the parts with which we hit, in fact, therefore we take a bigger one. And this padding here, if you hit this white and grey, that's perfect. That's the best ever I've seen. The best brand you can get for it. It's so stable, it's absolutely unbelievable. It's great. Problem is, it's just one brand we know of that has such a good quality, and it's hard to come by. If you have the chance, take it. So this one is the part for the parts with which you hit people, and the small one is this for the rest of the Pompfe. And in fact, underneath this, when you build your Pompfe, when you make it, then you first have your fiberglass rod, then you have your first padding, and then on the parts with which you want to hit someone, you have the big one, like that. Okay. Problem is, if we just stick it together like here, well, it wouldn't take long and it would just go off, fly off. It's far from safe and it wouldn't hold any time. Therefore, we need something to tape. And the tape, again, is something that you first have to find. The best quality tape. You can't, or you shouldn't take just any tape. And you, for sure, shouldn't take the cheapest tape. You should take tape that costs a bit more, because then if you have the right choice, this tape is really good, it's really hard. And if you put that tape here, it's double-sided tape. If you put that tape along the length of your fiberglass rod, something like this, we won't make a Pompfe now, but just for show, if you put it around it, like, well, have it, like this, then you can see here, it's quite good, it holds to the fiberglass, and that's what we want. Then you can take off the yellow plastic, and then you are putting this part of your padding around the core staff and around double-sided tape. So that holds very good. The same thing I have to say for the main tape, the tape that you can see, you could say outside here. The main cover of your Pompfe, like this here. Also, don't take the cheap tape, take expensive tape, take good tape. Just check when you just take a bit of it, and then with your fingers test how good it holds. Another thing is with this a bit more expensive tape, you can just draw very nicely. You don't have to use a knife or so to make it. So price and quality is an important factor right here. I recommend that. And when we look how a Pompfe is made, then we see first the fiberglass staff, the core rod you could say, then the double-sided tape, then the first isolation you could say for warm water isolation, which is where you can hold it, but also which goes underneath the part with which you want to hit people. There's the big isolation, and then comes another part, and that part is the point. If you have a Pompfe like a Q-tip with which you can thrust against someone, then it is quite important to have something soft on top. So that if I hit someone right into the face, which will happen, you will do that, that will happen, it shouldn't be a danger, of course. It shouldn't be too hard. Therefore, something very soft is recommended, and that's just mattress. That's perfect. And you put the mattress on it, and then take a knife and just cut it into the right shape and put it on your Pompfe like that. In this small model I have already put something around it. Again, we have material, soft material here, which is put around the point, around the lower part of the point, to protect the point from breaking off. So quite important to have something that's a bit more stable than this soft stuff to avoid breaking your Pompfe. And you can see maybe in here, there's the fiberglass rod, there is the point, and here is the padding material, the warm water isolation. Good, that is the main way to make a Pompfe. One last thing that is very important: if you are using these fiberglass rod, then you should put something on top of it to protect the tip of it, because if your Pompfe might break in a game and this core rod might come out, which I have never seen, but it may happen, then it is still protected by this small tip here from doing damage, doing real damage to someone. You don't want to get this. Also, when you are building a Pompfe with this fiberglass, be very careful. Do never touch this rod from here or here. If possible, avoid it. You can see maybe here these small thingies here, and if these come into your finger, go into your finger, then that's not funny at all. So be a bit careful with this material. That's fiberglass, very fine material, and well, you can use gloves, but in fact you don't need them. Just take care that you don't touch these core rods on the top, on the tips here, otherwise it could be not that funny. You might also find a complete guide how to make Pompfen in my Jugger book. That's, sorry to say, in German, but I think a video is always quite a good way to explain these things and stress the more important points. Oh, one last thing that is maybe interesting for you who are playing the famous shield and short sword combination. This is a finished shield, a shield of our club. I wouldn't recommend to cover the whole front with tape, but it's just a faster way to make it. It gets a bit heavier, it might be not so shiny, but it's just effective to make. The important point here are the straps. How to hold your shield? Well, you have these two straps here, one strap for the arm that covers here and one strap for the hand to grab it. And with these straps you have a good control, or a moderately good control, over your shield. I wouldn't recommend a grab in the middle, because then it might happen that you don't have enough stability. But prove yourself, just test it. Usually I recommend this. Two straps, and if you are building a private shield just for you, then make sure that these straps really fit and that these straps are tight, because when they are not tight, like here, then your shield might be not very well in terms of control. Another possibility with shields is this here. That gets more and more popular, and what we see here is the same design basically, but we have this for the arm, but here we have some wood, Of course it has to be padded, this is not finished yet, but there you can see it. This is just some grip where you can really hold the shield even itself. It's just wood. So this is interesting, but if you only have this, of course, it might not be that good to handle. With this we can parry with much force. We have excellent control over our shield, and this strap here is also offering quite a good support for you to hold it. And you see Viking style. This I don't recommend because there might be tournaments where this might be sorted out. Maybe better to have just a plain thing. But as you can see, this is a nice alternative. It is fixed with screws. Here is padding so nothing can happen. We have screws in there. We have some Patex, I think, in there, so it really holds. And that's about the whole magic of the thing. Well, so this here is a shield that is just undergoing construction, and you can see very nicely we have a front padding, not the best quality padding here, I'm afraid, so take something that's a bit better. We have these side wrap here that protects the shield from above. You can see it here a bit better. It goes all the way around the shield so that if you hit someone here, for example, it does not cause any damage. And you have the inner padding that protects yourself when you're hit by your own shield, that nothing happens. And this is the old strap design, so 2 straps to hold your shield, and here we will have to put in padding as well. The core here is just wood. Plywood usually, if you take the right one, it will be quite stable. 0.9 centimeters, so 9 millimeters is quite a good shape, and it's a good balance between weight and stability, so that I would recommend, in fact. This was the first part from our little tutorial how to build Pompfen. Well, this first part. I won't demonstrate you the whole process because that would take an own video, in fact. Maybe we'll come to it later. But for now, this little inside might help you to get going. On the net you will find many descriptions and many how-tos, how to make your Pompfen. Just always remember, you are playing against people, so your Pompfe should be as safe as possible. So better to have a bit more protection than not enough protection, in fact. Even if it is a bit more costly, or even if your Pompfe is a bit heavier. That's worth it, absolutely. So, thank you very much, and vi ses snart, som man säger på svenska. Tack så mycket.